You know, we all have those moments, right? We face these challenges that just feel overwhelming, maybe even totally unfair. But what if there was a completely different way to look at all of it? Today, we're going to dive into a framework from author Mark Pitstick that offers a pretty radical shift in perspective, one that promises we can find real meaning even in our toughest times.
So let's just start with the big one, the question that I think we all wrestle with at some point. Is everything that happens to us just random? Is there any point to all the chaos, the pain, the struggle? The material we're digging into today offers a very, very bold answer to that.
And that answer all starts with a concept the author calls the great news. Now, this is the foundation for everything else, and it's designed to completely reframe how we look at, well, everything. Okay, so the entire framework we're exploring here is built on one huge, fascinating premise. The author makes the case that our consciousness, our self, actually survives physical death. And he points to specific research out of the University of Arizona as scientific backing for this core idea. So if we just run with that premise for a minute, what does that actually mean? Well, according to the author, it changes everything. It means you are an eternal being. It means you never truly lose the people you love, that you actually have a purpose for being here, and, this is a big one, that every single challenge, no matter how painful it is, holds an opportunity for growth. And this slide, this is really the whole point of the framework. It's about shifting your entire worldview. The goal is to move from seeing life as this unfair, meaningless, sometimes cruel thing that just ends, to seeing it as a meaningful, magnificent adventure that's part of a much, much bigger existence.
This kind of shift leads us straight to the next concept, enlightenment. But we're not talking about some unattainable goal for monks on a mountaintop. In this context, it's defined as something way more personal and, honestly, way more accessible.
So enlightenment here is defined as just seeing that big picture we just talked about, and then actually living your life based on that knowledge. It's framed less as you learning something totally new, and more like you remembering something your soul, your deepest self, has known all along. And to show that this isn't some brand new idea, the author points to how this wisdom shows up across different world traditions, like in Hinduism, for example, where there's this core belief that the divine is literally hidden inside all of us. And you see a really similar idea in Shintoism, which teaches that the search for what's sacred, what's divine, ultimately leads you right back to your own heart. And of course, in Christianity. The point being made here is that this idea of an inner connection to something greater isn't some fringe concept. It's a deep, universal human truth. This quote from Meher Baba just kind of nails it, doesn't it? The whole idea is you can't become what you already are. The journey of enlightenment, from this perspective, is really about just dropping the illusion that you were ever separate to begin with. Okay, so this brings us to what is, for sure, the most difficult and challenging idea in this entire framework. It's the concept that we might actually choose our own suffering, our biggest challenges, before we're even born. And I mean, this is the question that pops up immediately, right? Why on earth would any soul choose to go through the absolute worst things imaginable? Illness, abuse, tragic loss. It seems completely insane.
Well, according to the author, these kinds of challenges are chosen for reasons that only really make sense from that bigger, eternal perspective. There are three main reasons proposed. First, that facing adversity builds our spiritual muscles, just like working out builds physical ones. Second, that our struggles can actually serve and teach other people. And third, that they force us to zoom out and gain that eternal perspective.
Now, to support this, the author shares stories of people who went through immense hardship. He talks about a woman named Geraldine who was abused and a man named Rob who was paralyzed. And in these stories, both of them apparently reached a point where they said they wouldn't change a thing about their past because the wisdom and growth they gained was more valuable to them than anything else.
Okay, so we've been talking about some pretty big, cosmic ideas, but how does any of this actually apply to our day-to-day lives? This last section is all about bringing these concepts down to a really practical, actionable level. The author shares this personal story about being on vacation and seeing a nearby neighborhood that was just filled with poverty and trash. And he felt that feeling we all know, that sense of hopelessness when you're facing a problem that just seems way too big to solve. But instead of just staying stuck in that discouraged feeling, he made a conscious choice. He decided to do one small, simple thing. He just started picking up the litter himself. And that one small action led to a much bigger idea.
He came up with this concept he calls the 15 percenters. It's his personal estimate of the slice of the population that's maybe a bit more spiritually aware. And his theory is that if just that group of people committed to taking small positive actions, we could actually solve the world's biggest problems.
And that right there, that's the core takeaway of this entire framework. It's that the simple choice to take positive action, no matter how small or insignificant it feels, has the power to transform your own discouragement into hope, and that it can create a ripple effect that you might never even see.
So this brings it all back to you. If every challenge really does hold a lesson, an opportunity to grow, to serve, then what's it going to be? What small, positive action are you going to choose today?